Hi, my name is Mara Ellerton. I'm with Heritage of East Lake Macquarie. I'm sitting here chatting to Pauline today. And just to fill you in on a little bit of the background of the church. Way back in the day, before they actually had a church, the Reverend from Brisbane Waters and down at Gosford Way used to ride up on his horse because roads were pretty well non-existent or so badly rutted that there was no other transport. And then eventually the Reverend from Adamstown started coming down on a mixture of train and bicycle, again making pit stops along the way. And the congregation were holding their meetings in the local school, and eventually they were given an acre of land by one of the local landowners, and it ran from Josephson Street through to the main road, and that enabled them to build a little church, which is the one behind us, but originally it was situated on the main road.
So it was a fairly big block.
It was an acre.
An acre.
So it would encompass where the new church is and all the way down to the street there behind us and down to the main road down that way. So that enabled them to build this little church, but it was on the main road. And as time went by, the new building, they decided they needed a new building, so they sold off a portion of the land that's on the highway, and with the funds that they raised from that built the new church, and that meant with the Caltex service station going in there that it had to be moved. So it's been moved back to here. And I guess with time with the new church and everything, it wasn't used as a church or a chapel. It became more of a meeting hall and for catering purposes. And then eventually the existing hall that's to my left was brought over from Pelican, from another church that was disbanded, so it's been put together with bits and pieces. And for a while it was looking a bit sad because it hadn't had much maintenance done to it, and then it was Rhonda's great idea to have this community hub happening with the rectory that was vacant and up for rent, and she's this amazing person who has all these community fingers happening. And so the garden started and the art gallery started and the little refreshment area started, and her next project was to do the church, and they invited us whether we wanted to be involved, and we looked at it.
And we are
we from Heritage of East Lake Macquarie, which is HELM for short, using the acronyms. And we went on a guided tour with Rhonda, and I thought, a lot of us didn't have the same vision that she did, but she was quite amazing in what she has achieved, from re-roofing to repainting and timber work and stained glass windows and everything else to make it just a beautiful little chapel. And so people can come and look at a building and just, okay, you stick your head in for 5 minutes and that's it, but we're trying to give it that little bit of an extra edge by maintaining the integrity of the chapel, but also adding the heritage and the history for people to come and look at, and to try and get people's stories, because Swansea has so much of an older population, and if we're not careful to try and harness those stories, they'll be gone.
So was Swansea independent town, or has it always been a suburb of Newcastle?
It's all, I guess it's much the way it has been. Probably an independent town.
So there would be local identities who maybe have never moved from here.
Yes. In early days it was very much a shipbuilding town, shipbuilding and fishing. And you've got the Boyd family, and George and Noeline are very much involved with heritage here. George's grandfather was a shipbuilder, and he had a shipbuilding yard down on the lake at the end of Lake Road. And so there was 3 generations that had worked in that shipyard. And even prior to that, his great-grandfather, or going way back, came out from Scotland, and he was did a lot of pilot work trying to guide boats and ships in and out of the lake and the channel, because it always used to silt up even back then. And that's always been a problem with the channel. And boats coming in and out for coal. And a lot of people gave up in the end because it just wasn't profitable if they ran aground. And then after a while there was one of the coal producers built a gantry over at Blacksmiths on the other side of where the bridge is now, to sort of not have to come up the channel. And so they used to truck the coal to the gantry there and load it that way. So yeah, so it's a lot of interesting history. Well, Rhonda has been the main driver of this. She's always had this vision to set up a community hub. And when the old rectory became available, that's where she began to set up an art gallery and her refreshment rooms and her garden, and then it expanded into this area here. So, and she does have visions of perhaps a movie night or plays being performed, the heritage aspect, and a whole heap of other different things. And really the boundaries are limitless as to what it could be used for. And we've also got a grant for community engagement, so we're hoping to hold morning teas and have people with historical backgrounds perhaps speaking to the local people, and then also getting the local people to come and bring their stories to us and over a morning tea, and do some filming and interviewing and oral histories, and just try and keep the histories going as much as we can. So that's kind of the aim at the moment, but I'm sure it will grow as it goes along, because we've only been open for about a month here, so from the heritage aspect, so we've got more to collate from the heritage point of view. And as things just happen to bubble up, you sort of take advantage of the events as they happen. Okay, once a month we put out a newsletter called Helm, Heritage of East Lake Macquarie, at various places around town, at clubs and some shops. We print about 400. We also have a website called Helm, Heritage of East Lake Macquarie, and you can get the newsletter and other photos and that in there. And we also have an email address, and I email a lot of newsletters out, and the email address is helm, HELM 2281 @gmail.com, and that will then come through to me. And if people have any interesting stories or photos, we would love to see and hear from you. At the moment we're open here on Fridays between 10 and 2, but we do hope to expand as we get bigger and better and get more people on board. So that's our plans. It would be great to be able to open during the week plus a day on the weekend. That gives people who work a chance to come in as well. So that's what we're doing at the moment, and we hope to grow from there.